The morning of November 4, 2010, dawned bright and clear over Singapore's Changi Airport, a sprawling hub of activity where the hum of jet engines and the bustle of travelers created a symphony of modern aviation. Among the countless flights scheduled that day, Qantas Flight 32 stood out. A routine passenger service bound for Sydney, Australia, operated by one of the most advanced aircraft in the world, the Airbus A380. Known as the largest passenger airliner ever built, the A380 was a marvel of engineering, a double-decked behemoth capable of carrying over 500 passengers across vast distances with unparalleled comfort and efficiency. This particular aircraft, registered as VHOQA and named Nancy Bird Walton in honor of an Australian aviation pioneer, was a symbol of Qantas's reputation for safety and reliability. But on this day, it would face a test unlike any other in its history. The crew of Flight 32 was a seasoned group, handpicked for their experience and expertise. At the helm was Captain Richard Champion de Crespigny, a veteran pilot with over 15,000 flight hours and a reputation for calm under pressure. Beside him sat First Officer Matt Hicks and Second Officer Mark Johnson, both highly skilled aviators with extensive training in the A380's sophisticated systems. In the cabin, a team of 24 flight attendants prepared for the journey ahead, ensuring that the 440 passengers on board were comfortable and secure. Among the passengers were families returning home, business travelers, and tourists eager to explore Australia. For most, the flight was just another leg of their journey, a routine trip aboard one of the world's safest airlines. As the clock ticked toward the scheduled departure time of 9 a.m., the aircraft was fueled, loaded, and readied for takeoff. The A380's 4 Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines, each capable of producing over 70,000 pounds of thrust, were inspected and cleared for operation. The flight plan was filed, the weather was favorable, and all systems appeared normal. At 9:03 a.m., the massive aircraft pushed back from the gate and began its slow taxi to the runway. Inside the cockpit, the crew conducted their final checks, methodically running through a series of procedures designed to ensure that every system was functioning as intended. Outside, the sun glinted off the A380's sleek silver fuselage, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of progress in aviation. At 9:15 a.m., Flight 32 was cleared for takeoff. The engines roared to life, their powerful thrust, propelling the 560-ton aircraft down the runway. The sensation of acceleration was palpable as the A380 gathered speed, its nose lifting gracefully into the air. For the passengers, the moment was exhilarating, a familiar yet awe-inspiring experience as the ground fell away and the plane climbed into the sky. Inside the cockpit, the crew monitored the instruments closely, their training and experience guiding them through the critical phases of flight. The initial climb was smooth, the aircraft performing exactly as expected. By 9:17 a.m., Flight 32 had reached an altitude of 7,400 feet, and the crew began preparing for the next stage of the journey. But just as the aircraft passed over Batam, Island, Indonesia, a sudden and catastrophic event shattered the routine. At 9:19 a.m., the crew heard a loud bang, followed by a series of violent vibrations that shook the entire aircraft. In the cockpit, warning lights flashed and alarms blared as the flight management system began displaying a cascade of error messages. Engine number 2, the inboard engine on the left wing, had suffered an uncontained failure, a rare and potentially catastrophic event in which engine components break apart and are ejected with tremendous force. The explosion sent shrapnel tearing through the wing and fuselage, damaging critical systems and leaving the crew to contend with a rapidly deteriorating situation. The immediate aftermath of the explosion was chaos. The aircraft shuddered violently as the crew struggled to maintain control. Passengers in the cabin were thrown about, their screams echoing through the air as the plane lurched and shook. In the cockpit, the crew worked frantically to assess the damage and stabilize the aircraft. The flight management system was inundated with warnings, indicating failures in multiple systems, including hydraulics, fuel, and electrical. The left wing was severely damaged, with fuel leaking from ruptured tanks and debris scattered across its surface. The explosion had also damaged the landing gear and compromised the aircraft's structural integrity, raising the possibility of a catastrophic failure if the situation was not brought under control. Captain de Crespigny, drawing on his years of experience, took charge of the situation. His first priority was to stabilize the aircraft and assess the extent of the damage. With First Officer Hicks and Second Officer Johnson assisting, he began, working through the emergency procedures, methodically addressing each issue as it arose. The crew quickly realized that they were facing an unprecedented challenge. The A380's advanced systems, designed to handle a wide range of failures, were being pushed to their limits. The flight management computer, overwhelmed by the sheer number of warnings, struggled to provide clear guidance. The crew was forced to rely on their training and instincts, making split-second decisions that would determine the fate of everyone on board. As the aircraft continued to climb, the crew worked tirelessly to regain control. The damaged engine was shut down, and the remaining 3 engines were adjusted to compensate for the loss of thrust. The flight controls, though compromised, responded to the crew's inputs, allowing them to maintain a stable flight path. But the challenges were far from over. The fuel system was leaking, raising concerns about the aircraft's ability to remain airborne. The electrical system was also affected, with several critical instruments and displays malfunctioning. The crew had to rely on backup systems and manual calculations to navigate the aircraft, a daunting task under the best of circumstances. Outside, the situation was equally dire. The explosion had left a gaping hole in the left wing, with debris trailing behind the aircraft as it flew. The damaged engine had torn through the wing's structure, severing hydraulic lines and damaging the fuel tanks. Fuel was leaking from multiple points, creating a visible trail as the aircraft continued its climb. The crew was acutely aware of the risk of fire, a potentially catastrophic event that could overwhelm the aircraft's systems and lead to disaster. They monitored the situation closely, ready to take action if necessary. Despite the overwhelming challenges, the crew remained focused and composed. Their training had prepared them for emergencies, but nothing could have fully prepared them for the complexity and severity of the situation they now faced. Every decision was critical. Every action had to be precise. The stakes were unimaginably high. 440 lives depended on their ability to bring the aircraft safely back to the ground. As Flight 32 continued its climb, the crew began preparing for the next phase of the emergency, returning to Singapore Changi Airport. The damaged aircraft was barely controllable, and the prospect of landing safely seemed almost impossible. But the crew had no other choice. They would have to navigate the crippled A380 through a series of complex maneuvers, relying on their skill and determination to overcome the odds. The next few hours would test their limits, pushing them to the edge of human capability. But for now, they focused on the task at hand, determined to do whatever it took to bring their passengers home safely. As Qantas Flight 32 climbed to an altitude of 7,400 feet, the cockpit was a hive of focused activity. Captain Richard Champion de Crespigny, his hands steady on the controls, directed his crew with calm precision. The initial shock of the engine explosion had passed, but the situation remained dire. The Airbus A380, a marvel of modern aviation, was now a wounded giant, its systems faltering under the strain of catastrophic damage. The crew's training and experience were being put to the ultimate test as they worked to stabilize the aircraft and prepare for an emergency return to Singapore Changi Airport. The first priority was to assess the full extent of the damage. The explosion of engine number 2 had not only destroyed the engine itself, but had also sent shrapnel tearing through the left wing and fuselage. The debris had severed hydraulic lines, punctured fuel tanks, and damaged critical electrical systems. The flight management computer was overwhelmed by a cascade of error messages, each one signaling a new failure. The crew had to sift through the chaos, identifying which systems were still operational and which were beyond repair. It was a daunting task, made even more challenging by the constant vibrations and the unsettling sensation of flying a damaged aircraft. One of the most immediate concerns was the fuel system. The explosion had ruptured multiple fuel tanks, causing a significant leak. The crew could see fuel streaming from the left wing, a visible reminder of the danger they faced. If the leak continued unchecked, the aircraft could run out of fuel before reaching the safety of the airport. The crew quickly implemented procedures to transfer fuel from the damaged tanks to the intact ones, a delicate operation that required careful monitoring. They also calculated the remaining fuel and adjusted their flight plan to ensure they had enough to make it back to Singapore. The hydraulic system, essential for controlling the aircraft's flight surfaces, was another major concern. The explosion had severed several hydraulic lines, causing a loss of pressure in some of the systems. The A380 was designed with multiple redundant hydraulic systems, but the damage was so extensive that even these backups were compromised. The crew had to rely on manual controls and alternative methods to maintain stability. It was a painstaking process, requiring constant adjustments and precise inputs to keep the aircraft on course. The electrical system was also affected, with several critical instruments and displays malfunctioning. The crew had to rely on backup systems and manual calculations to navigate the aircraft. The flight management computer, overwhelmed by the sheer number of warnings, struggled to provide clear guidance. The crew had to interpret the data, cross-referencing it with their own observations and calculations. It was a testament to their skill and training that they were able to maintain control under such challenging conditions. As the crew worked to stabilize the aircraft, they also had to contend with the psychological toll of the situation. The constant vibrations, the cacophony of alarms, and the ever-present risk of further failure created an atmosphere of intense pressure. But the crew remained focused, their training and experience guiding them through the crisis. Captain D.D. Crespigny, in particular, was a model of calm leadership, his steady demeanor helping to keep the crew grounded and focused on the task at hand. Outside the cockpit, the situation was equally tense. The passengers, many of whom had been thrown about by the initial explosion, were now huddled in their seats, their fear palpable. The flight attendants, trained to handle emergencies, moved through the cabin with practiced efficiency, reassuring passengers and ensuring that everyone was secure. The cabin crew's professionalism and composure were a crucial part of the response, helping to maintain order and prevent panic. As Flight 32 continued its climb, the crew began preparing for the next phase of the emergency, returning to Singapore Changi Airport. The damaged aircraft was barely controllable, and the prospect of landing safely seemed almost impossible. But the crew had no other choice. They would have to navigate the crippled A380 through a series of complex maneuvers, relying on their skill and determination to overcome the odds. The first step was to configure the aircraft for landing. This involved reducing speed, lowering the landing gear, and extending the flaps and slats to increase lift. But with the hydraulic and electrical systems compromised, even these routine procedures were fraught with difficulty. The crew had to manually override the systems, using alternative methods to achieve the necessary configuration. It was a painstaking process, requiring constant adjustments and precise inputs. As the aircraft approached the airport, the crew faced another critical decision: which runway to use. The damaged aircraft required a long, wide runway to accommodate its reduced maneuverability and the potential for further complications during landing. After consulting with air traffic control, the crew selected runway 20C, the longest runway, at Changi Airport. It was a decision that would prove crucial in the moments to come. The final approach was a nerve-wracking experience for everyone on board. The crew had to maintain precise control of the aircraft, compensating for the damage and the loss of systems. The passengers, many of whom were praying or holding hands, braced themselves for what they knew would be a difficult landing. The flight attendants, their training and professionalism shining through, continued to reassure and guide the passengers, ensuring that everyone was prepared for the impact. As the aircraft descended, the crew made their final adjustments. The damaged left wing, with its leaking fuel and compromised structure, was a constant concern. The crew had to carefully manage the aircraft's speed and altitude, ensuring that they could make a safe landing without exacerbating the damage. It was a delicate balance, requiring split-second decisions and precise control. At 11:46 a.m., just over 2 hours after the initial explosion, Qantas Flight 32 touched down on runway 20C at Singapore Changi Airport. The landing was hard but controlled, the massive aircraft shuddering as it made contact with the runway. The crew immediately applied the brakes and deployed the thrust reversers, bringing the aircraft to a stop. The passengers erupted into applause, their relief palpable. But for the crew, the ordeal was not yet over. As the aircraft came to a halt, the crew initiated the emergency evacuation procedures. The flight attendants, their training and professionalism shining through, guided the passengers to the exits and ensured that everyone was safely off the aircraft. The evacuation was orderly and efficient, a testament to the crew's preparation and the passengers' cooperation. When the last passenger had disembarked, the crew finally allowed themselves a moment of relief. They had faced an unprecedented challenge and emerged victorious, their skill and determination saving the lives of everyone on board. It was a moment of triumph, but also a sobering reminder of the risks inherent in aviation. As the passengers were taken to the terminal and the crew debriefed, the full extent of the damage became clear. The left wing was riddled with holes, the engine completely destroyed. The hydraulic and electrical systems were in shambles, and the fuel tanks were nearly empty. It was a miracle that the aircraft had been able to land safely, a testament to the skill and professionalism of the crew. In the days and weeks that followed, the incident would be analyzed and studied, its lessons incorporated into training and procedures. But for the crew of Qantas Flight 32, it was a moment they would never forget. They had faced the ultimate test and emerged victorious, their actions saving the lives of 440 people. It was a story of courage, skill, and determination, a reminder of the incredible capabilities of human beings in the face of adversity. The successful landing of Qantas Flight 32 at Singapore Changi Airport marked the end of an immediate crisis, but it was only the beginning of a long and complex process of investigation, recovery, and reflection. As the passengers disembarked and were ushered to the terminal, the enormity of what had just occurred began to sink in. The Airbus A380, once a symbol of human ingenuity and technological prowess, now sat on the tarmac, its left wing riddled. With holes, its systems in disarray, and its engine number 2 reduced to a mangled shell. The aircraft, named Nancy Bird Walton in honor of an Australian aviation pioneer, had become a testament to the fragility of even the most advanced machines, and the resilience of the people who operate them. The first priority after the landing was ensuring the safety and well-being of the passengers and crew. Medical teams were on hand to assess and treat any injuries, though remarkably there were no serious physical injuries reported. Many passengers, however, were visibly shaken, their faces pale and their hands trembling as they recounted the harrowing experience. The flight attendants, who had remained calm and professional throughout the ordeal, now took on the role of caregivers, offering comfort and reassurance to those in need. Inside the terminal, Qantas staff worked quickly to arrange accommodations, meals, and alternative travel arrangements for the passengers, many of whom were still processing the fact that they had survived what could have been a catastrophic disaster. Meanwhile, the crew of Flight 32 was debriefed by airline officials and aviation authorities. Captain Richard Champion de Crespigny, First Officer Matt Hicks, and Second Officer Mark Johnson, along with the senior cabin crew members, provided detailed accounts of the events that had unfolded in the air. Their calm and methodical descriptions of the multiple system failures, the challenges of maintaining control, and the decision-making process that led to the successful landing were met with a mixture of awe and admiration. It was clear to everyone present that the crew's training, experience, and composure had been instrumental in averting disaster. As the crew recounted their actions, investigators from the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, ATSB, and other international aviation authorities began their work. The damaged aircraft was cordoned off, and a team of experts descended upon it, meticulously documenting every detail of the damage. The focus of the investigation was engine number 2, the Rolls-Royce Trent 900, which had suffered an uncontained failure, a rare and serious event in which engine components break apart and are ejected with tremendous force. The explosion had not only destroyed the engine, but had also sent shrapnel tearing through the wing and fuselage, causing widespread damage to critical systems. The investigation revealed that the failure was caused by a manufacturing defect in the engine's oil feed pipe. The defect had led to a fatigue crack which allowed oil to leak and ignite, causing a fire that ultimately led to the explosion. This discovery prompted a global review of the Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines, with inspections and modifications carried out on all A380 aircraft equipped with the engine. The incident also led to changes in maintenance procedures and safety protocols, ensuring that such a defect would be detected and addressed before it could lead to another failure. For Qantas, the incident was a defining moment. The airline, which had long prided itself on its impeccable safety record, faced intense scrutiny from the media, the public, and the aviation industry. But rather than shying away from the spotlight, Qantas embraced the opportunity to demonstrate its commitment to safety and transparency. The airline cooperated fully with the investigation, sharing data and insights that would help prevent similar incidents in the future. Qantas also took steps to support the passengers and crew of Flight 32, offering counseling services and financial compensation to those affected. The crew of Flight 32, meanwhile, became heroes in the eyes of the public. Captain de Crespigny, in particular, was hailed as a masterful aviator whose skill and leadership had saved hundreds of lives. He and his crew were honored with numerous awards and accolades, including the prestigious Polaris Award from the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations. But for the crew, the greatest reward was knowing that they had done their jobs to the best of their abilities, and that their actions had made a difference. The incident also had a profound impact on the aviation industry as a whole. It served as a stark reminder of the importance of rigorous safety standards, thorough maintenance procedures, and continuous training for pilots and crew. The lessons learned from Flight 32 were incorporated into training programs and operational guidelines, ensuring that future crews would be better prepared to handle similar emergencies. The incident also highlighted the need for ongoing collaboration between aircraft manufacturers, engine suppliers, and airlines, fostering a culture of shared responsibility and continuous improvement. For the passengers of Flight 32, the experience was life-changing. Many spoke of a renewed appreciation for life, a deeper sense of gratitude, and a heightened awareness of the risks inherent in air travel. Some formed lasting bonds with their fellow passengers, united by the shared experience of having faced death and survived. Others became advocates for aviation safety, sharing their stories and calling for greater transparency and accountability in the industry. As for the aircraft itself, Nancy Bird Walton underwent extensive repairs and was eventually returned to service. The process took nearly 18 months and cost millions of dollars, but for Qantas, it was a symbolic gesture, a statement of confidence in the A380 and a testament to the airline's resilience. The aircraft went on to fly for several more years, carrying passengers across the globe and serving as a reminder of the incredible capabilities of modern aviation. In the years that followed, the story of Qantas Flight 32 became a case study in aviation safety, taught in training programs and discussed in industry conferences. It was a story of human ingenuity and technological achievement, but also of human vulnerability and the ever-present need for vigilance. It was a story of courage, skill, and determination, but also of collaboration, learning, and growth. And so, the legacy of Qantas Flight 32 endures, not as a tale of disaster, but as a testament to the power of preparation, the importance of teamwork, and the indomitable spirit of those who take to the skies. It is a story that reminds us of the risks we face, but also of the incredible potential we have to overcome them. And it is a story that will continue to inspire and inform for generations to come. In the weeks and months following the emergency landing of Qantas Flight 32, the focus of the narrative began to shift from the technical and procedural aspects of the incident to the human stories that emerged in its aftermath. The passengers, crew, and even those on the ground who had witnessed the event became part of a larger tapestry of resilience, reflection, and renewal. These stories, often deeply personal and emotional, revealed the profound impact the incident had on those who lived through it and highlighted the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of adversity. For the passengers, the experience of Flight 32 was a life-altering event. Many described the moments following the engine explosion as surreal, a blur of fear, confusion, and disbelief. One passenger, a mother traveling with her 2 young children, recalled the terror of seeing the cabin shake violently and hearing the deafening bang. She remembered clutching her children tightly, whispering reassurances to them even as her own heart raced with fear. Another passenger, a businessman who had flown countless times before, spoke of the eerie calm that settled over the cabin as the crew worked to stabilize the aircraft. He described the flight attendants as angels in uniform, their calm demeanor and clear instructions helping to keep panic at bay. As the passengers disembarked and were ushered to the terminal, the reality of what they had just experienced began to sink in. Many were overcome with emotion, tears streaming down their faces as they hugged loved ones or called family members to let them know they were safe. For some, the experience sparked a profound sense of gratitude and a renewed appreciation for life. One passenger, a retiree who had been traveling to visit his grandchildren, described the incident as a wake-up call. "It made me realize how precious every moment is," he said. "I'm not going to take anything for granted anymore." The crew of Flight 32, too, found themselves grappling with the emotional aftermath of the incident. While they had been lauded as heroes for their skill and composure, the weight of what they had endured was not lost on them. Captain Richard Champion de Crespigny, in particular, became a symbol of leadership and resilience. But he was quick to deflect praise, emphasizing that the successful outcome was the result of teamwork and training. In interviews and public appearances, he spoke of the importance of preparation and the need to remain calm under pressure. "We train for these kinds of situations," he said. "But when it actually happens, it's still a shock. You have to rely on your training and trust your instincts." For the flight attendants, the incident was a testament to their professionalism and dedication. Many of them had worked in the industry for years, but nothing could have prepared them for the challenges they faced on Flight 32. One attendant, a veteran with over 2 decades of experience, described the moment the engine exploded as the most terrifying of her career. "You never think something like that will happen to you," she said, "but when it does, you have to push aside your fear and focus on what needs to be done." Her actions, along with those of her colleagues, helped to ensure that the passengers remained calm and orderly, even in the face of unimaginable stress. The incident also had a profound impact on the families of those on board. For many, the hours following the explosion were filled with anxiety and uncertainty as they waited for news of their loved ones. One woman, whose husband was on the flight, described the agonizing wait as she watched news reports of the incident unfold. "I felt so helpless," she said. "All I could do was pray that he was okay." When she finally received the call confirming that he was safe, she broke down in tears of relief. "It was like getting a second chance," she said. "I'll never forget that feeling." For the aviation community, the incident served as a powerful reminder of the importance of human factors in safety. While the technical aspects of the investigation, the engine failure, the system malfunctions, and the damage to the aircraft were critical, the human element was equally significant. The crew's ability to remain calm and focused under extreme pressure, the passengers' willingness to follow instructions and support one another, and the ground staff's swift and coordinated response all played a crucial role in the successful outcome. These lessons were incorporated into training programs and safety protocols, ensuring that future crews would be better prepared to handle similar emergencies. In the months that followed, many of the passengers and crew of Flight 32 found ways to give back and share their experiences. Some became advocates for aviation safety, speaking at conferences and participating in industry forums. Others turned to writing, publishing articles and books about their experiences. One passenger, a journalist by profession, wrote a detailed account of the incident, capturing the emotions and perspectives of those on board. "I felt it was important to tell the story," she said, "not just for us, but for everyone who flies. It's a reminder of how fragile life can be and how important it is to cherish every moment." The incident also brought the passengers and crew closer together, forging bonds that would last a lifetime. Many of them stayed in touch, forming a tight-knit community of survivors. They organized reunions, shared stories, and supported one another as they processed the trauma of the event. For some, these connections became a source of strength and healing. "We went through something incredible together," one passenger said. "It's something that will always connect us." As time passed, the story of Qantas Flight 32 became more than just a tale of survival. It became a story of resilience, reflection, and renewal. It was a reminder of the power of human ingenuity and the importance of preparation, but also of the fragility of life and the need to appreciate every moment. It was a story of courage and teamwork, but also of vulnerability and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And so, the legacy of Flight 32 endures, not just in the lessons learned and the changes made, but in the lives of those who lived through it. It is a story that continues to inspire and inform, a testament to the incredible capabilities of human beings in the face of adversity. And it is a story that will be told and retold, a reminder of the power of hope, the importance of community, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Years after the harrowing events of November 4, 2010, the story of Qantas Flight 32 had become more than just a tale of survival. It had evolved into a cornerstone of modern aviation history. The incident, which could have ended in unimaginable tragedy, instead became a catalyst for change, a source of inspiration, and a testament to the resilience of both human ingenuity and the human spirit. As the aviation industry reflected on the lessons learned, the legacy of Flight 32 continued to shape the way aircraft were designed, maintained, and operated, ensuring that the skies remained safer for future generations. The Airbus A380, Nancy Bird Walton, had long since returned to service after undergoing extensive repairs. Its return to the skies was a symbolic moment for Qantas, a statement of confidence in the aircraft and a testament to the airline's commitment to safety. The A380 went on to fly for several more years, carrying passengers across the globe, and serving as a reminder of the incredible capabilities of modern aviation. But its story was forever intertwined with that of Flight 32, a chapter that would never be forgotten. The crew of Flight 32, hailed as heroes in the immediate aftermath of the incident, continued to be celebrated for their extraordinary actions. Captain Richard Champion de Crespigny, First Officer Matt Hicks, and Second Officer Mark Johnson became icons of aviation excellence, their names synonymous with skill, composure, and leadership. They were invited to speak at industry conferences, share their experiences in training programs, and contribute to the development of new safety protocols. Their story became a case study in crisis management, taught to aspiring pilots and aviation professionals around the world. For Captain de Crespigny, the incident was a defining moment in his career. He became an advocate for aviation safety, using his platform to emphasize the importance of preparation, teamwork, and continuous learning. In his memoir, QF-32, he detailed the events of that day, offering a first-hand account of the challenges the crew faced and the decisions they made. The book became a bestseller, inspiring readers with its message of resilience and determination. "We were just doing our jobs," he often said, "but if our story can help others learn and improve, then it's worth telling." The passengers of Flight 32 too found ways to carry forward the lessons of that day. Many of them became advocates for aviation safety, sharing their experiences and calling for greater transparency and accountability in the industry. Some formed lasting bonds with their fellow passengers, united by the shared experience of having faced death and survived. They organized reunions, supported one another through the emotional aftermath, and found strength in their collective resilience. One passenger, a teacher, used her experience to inspire her students. She developed a curriculum focused on crisis management and teamwork, using the story of Flight 32 as a real-world example. "It's important for young people to understand that even in the face of adversity, there's always hope," she said. "If we work together and stay focused, we can overcome even the greatest challenges." The aviation industry, for its part, took the lessons of Flight 32 to heart. The incident prompted a global review of safety standards, maintenance procedures, and training protocols. The manufacturing defect in the Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engine that had caused the explosion was identified and addressed, leading to improvements in engine design and quality control. Airlines around the world implemented new safety measures, ensuring that such a defect would be detected and corrected before it could lead to another failure. The incident also highlighted the importance of human factors in aviation safety. The crew's ability to remain calm and focused under extreme pressure, the passengers' willingness to follow instructions and support one another, and the ground staff's swift and coordinated response all played a crucial role in the successful outcome. These lessons were incorporated into training programs, ensuring that future crews would be better prepared to handle similar emergencies. As the years passed, the story of Flight 32 became a symbol of hope and resilience. It was a reminder of the power of preparation, the importance of teamwork, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It was a story that inspired and informed, a testament to the incredible capabilities of human beings in the face of adversity. And so, the legacy of Qantas Flight 32 endures, not just in the lessons learned and the changes made, but in the lives of those who lived through it. It is a story that continues to inspire and inform, a reminder of the power of hope, the importance of community, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It is a story that will be told and retold, a testament to the resilience of both human ingenuity and the human spirit. As the sun set on another day in the world of aviation, the story of Flight 32 remained a beacon of light, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope. And as the next generation of pilots, engineers, and passengers took to the skies, they carried with them the lessons of that day, ensuring that the legacy of Flight 32 would continue to shape the future of aviation for years to come.